Starting off this countdown, we have the online security threats. It's incredible to see how far we have come with technology, but with that comes a downside. We greatly rely on our phones and laptops and iPads. We share every inch of our lives online, and this has made us super vulnerable to hackers. A number of security firms predict that next year a number of cyber attacks will happen, including big companies facing more data breaches, personal information being leaked online, and more identity thefts. In fact, since more people are working remotely or from home, this has put thousands of more businesses at risk. This year, almost half of all organizations found that at least one of their employees downloaded malware. Also, with the growing use of Apple Pay or other mobile wallets or payment services, this makes it easier for hackers to attack. So stay safe, guys. Don't download anything suspicious and use two-factor authentication and change your passwords. We don't want it to be 1234, okay? Or 4321. In our 9th spot, we have deepfake. Just this year, a very realistic and scary deepfake of Tom Cruise appeared on TikTok. The guy that runs this TikTok account now has 3.3 million subscribers, all from pretending to be Tom Cruise. Now, what he is doing is kinda harmless, but next year we are going to be seeing a rise of people using deepfake technology as a weapon. It's believed that next year, cybercriminals will increasingly use deepfakes to steal money and commit identity theft or fraud. I mean, in 2020, an attacker used deepfake technology to impersonate the voice of a director of a Hong Kong bank. Using this, they managed to transfer $35 million into their own personal account. That is absolutely insane. In our 8th spot, we have the meteors. We are literally a floating blob in space. We are nothing compared to asteroids or meteors. In fact, over the years, we have had a number of close calls with flying space junk and have almost got wiped out. While according to Nostradamus, next year might be the year that we do get wiped out by a meteor or asteroid. He wrote about a long trail of sparks in the sky made of fire, crashing down on Earth. If some of us survive the initial impact, chances are we will be wiped out by the following disasters that ensue, like an earthquake or tsunami or both. Coming in at number 7, we have the major earthquake. According to famous seer and prophet Nostradamus, in 2022, a major earthquake is going to occur in Japan. He said, and I quote, "In the depths of Asia, they will say earthquake." When in 2022 will it occur? No clue, but he hinted at it occurring in the middle of the day. Japan has been hit with a number of bad earthquakes over the years, the most devastating one being the Great Kanto earthquake. It happened in 1923 and over 100,000 people lost their lives. The earthquake was already disastrous as is, and then it caused a 40-foot high tsunami, and then a number of fires broke out. This could happen all over again with this new earthquake. And since Japan has a higher population now, that means thousands of more individuals could be affected. Moving on at number 6, we have the climate war. Here's another very scary prediction from Nostradamus. I swear, this guy only predicts like doom and gloom. Couldn't he have made happier predictions? Anyways, he predicted that in 2022, a climate war will break out. He said, and I quote, "Under the opposite Babylonian climate, great will be without the outpouring." And people somehow interpreted this as a climate war. With climate change and global warming getting really bad, we could see a shortage of resources in one country, which could then lead them to attacking a neighboring country to obtain more resources. But if they are scarce, no one is gonna share, so it's gonna be every country for themselves. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the new virus. According to a team of researchers, we will be impacted by a new virus next year. Thanks to global warming, ice caps are melting, so they believe that their team of researchers in Siberia will find a new lethal virus. The virus would normally have been frozen, but since the world is heating up, it can be released from the ice and affect the whole planet. That's it. Siberia is going into quarantine for all of next year. I can't do this again. I really can't. Moving on to number 4, we have the drinking water. Now let's take a look at what Prophet Baba Vanga had to say about 2022. According to her, she predicted that many cities will be hit by a shortage of drinking water. Already 1.1 billion people lack access to water. 2.7 billion experience water shortages at least once a month. Now, what causes water shortages? Well, climate change is a huge contributor. Climate change causes more severe weather patterns like droughts or floods, which affects our water resources. Other factors include increased pollution, increased population, increased demand, and overusage of water. With the current way the world is going, we are setting ourselves up for a huge water shortage. Baba Vanga predicts it will occur next year, whereas scientists think it will occur by 2025. They said that by 2025, 2/3 of the world's population may be facing water shortages. In our third spot, we have the AI takeover. The advancements with AI are cool and all, but I really don't want an AI takeover. I mean, there's tons of movies out there that show us why AI and robots is a bad idea. But are scientists listening? No, not at all. Well, Nostradamus predicted that in 2022, artificial intelligence will become a more dominant force and take over the world. I mean, just weeks ago, it was revealed that the world's first living robots, the Xenobots, can reproduce. Yeah, you heard me. That is not okay. Soon robots are gonna rule the world and we're gonna be working for them. And we'll be telling Alexa and Siri what the temperature is outside. In our second spot, we have the nuclear bomb. We all know how disastrous nuclear warfare and bombs are. Just think back to the nuclear bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, for example. Well, according to Nostradamus, a nuclear bomb will explode in 2022, which will negatively and drastically affect the state of the Earth. Now, he didn't say if a country is bombed by another country or if a country detonates one on itself by accident. Either way, it would bring us a step closer to the end. It's going to hugely impact the climate, and the effects would be witnessed by most of the world. And in our number one spot today, we have the alien invasion. Every year, we are getting closer and closer to revealing the truth about aliens. Next year, we might not only discover that they are real, but we might also be visited by them. But they won't be friendly like E.T. or Paul. No, according to Baba Vanga, in 2022, aliens will come to Earth via an asteroid and try to take over our planet. Chances are they would succeed at doing so because of how advanced they probably are. So yeah, that's interesting.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have climate change. I know some of you don't want to hear about this one, but it is always on the list of predictions for years to come, and we're just starting off with it and getting it out of the way. The climate is a delicate thing, and our presence here on Earth has a great effect on it. The climate can make our lives significantly easier, or it can make our lives significantly harder, so it really is something that is important to note. 2021 saw both heat and cold records broken, and it saw its fair share of natural disasters, floods, and fires. It is predicted that 2022 unfortunately won't be much different, sadly, which is not what we had hoped for. There aren't necessarily any exact predictions surrounding the climate, it's just the idea that we will continue to see some of the most extreme weather we have ever seen. In our number 9 spot today, we have the climate war. Speaking of the whole climate change thing, this is a prediction for 2022 that comes from Nostradamus. There's a couple more of his predictions on this list today, so if you don't know, Nostradamus was a man who lived in the 1500s, and he was an astrologer, poet, and what is called a seer, as he published a book of quatrain poems that are said to predict future events, and some of these predictions have actually come true. One of his predictions he has for 2022 is, quote, "Under the opposite Babylonian climate, great will be without the outpouring." I read that and didn't know what it meant either, but some people smarter than me have come to the conclusion that this is a prediction about the start of a climate war. It is said that this war is going to be a result of a lack of resources, and whichever country is involved is going to begin attacking the country next to them to try and gather their resources. Who knows if this will come true? I guess that's why it's called a prediction, and if it were to, who knows what countries would be involved. In our number 8 spot today, we have an economic recession. It is very obvious that the entire pandemic and last few years have had an unprecedented effect on the economy. I know every country is in a very different phase right now, and a lot of people have different mindsets, but I can say, as a Canadian, every time we start to get somewhere where things are opening back up and they feel like they're on the right track, everything just gets shut right down again, and we're back in March of 2020. The constant opening and closing of businesses is definitely taking its toll on the economy, economy, as well as travel restrictions affecting tourism, general anxiety causing people to not go out and spend their money, all the Amazon packages. The pandemic has flipped our lives completely around, and the economy has taken a big hit because of it. This is exactly why people are predicting that in the new year we will see an economic recession. I hope this one really isn't true, because people all over the world have struggled enough for the last couple of years. In our number 7 spot today we have the glacier. This is a prediction that comes to us from Baba Vanga, the late Bulgarian mystic and clairvoyant who has made a series of predictions, some of which have eerily come true. One of the predictions of hers for this year is a bit of a strange one, and considering our current global climate, this is one we are all definitely hoping isn't true. She predicted that this year an ancient glacier is going to melt due to global warming, which is probably a decently accurate prediction, but she also said that within this glacier will be a virus, and once the glacier melts, this virus will now be released to the world. The worst part is that this is said to be a virus that humans simply cannot handle. This isn't where her predictions for humanity end, so I'm not exactly sure how she expects us to recover from that, but I'm just gonna wait and see, I guess. In our number 6 spot today we have a world power. Back with another Baba Vanga prediction. This one is a little murky as to what exactly it means, but there are some theories. She apparently said that the year will see 3 giants unite and a strong dragon will seize humanity. Remember how I said exactly what this means is a little unclear? People have speculated that perhaps the 3 giants could be 3 of the most powerful countries, maybe the United States, Russia, and China, but seeing all these powerhouse countries unite would be quite a shocking prediction if it were to come true. There are others who think that maybe the strong dragon part is in reference to some country rising into a more powerful position than we've seen before. At this point, who knows exactly what the next year is going to hold, but I think it's pretty safe to say that anything can happen. In our number 5 spot today we have a conflict. Nostradamus was busy when it came to predicting things for 2022, so here's another one of his best guesses. He wrote, quote, "Of blood and hunger greater calamity, 7 times oppressed to the marine beach, monarch of hunger, place taken, captivity." Yeah, again, another one I simply did not understand, but it is apparently basically saying that his prediction is that 2022 will see an increase in world hunger due to the increase in armed conflicts. That's like a double whammy of terrible. As a result of this uptick in hunger, there will also be more movements in terms of population. I'm talking about more people immigrating to other countries in order to escape these terrible conditions. He doesn't seem to mention anything in the prediction of which countries he thinks will be affected or where those fleeing will make their new home, but that would be pretty freaky if he somehow had the ability to name all of those specifics. For now, we can definitely take this slightly vague prediction and just hope it doesn't come true. In our number 4 spot today we have locusts. This Baba Vanga prediction might actually be pretty accurate because it's something that has been seen in the past and something that has been quite a relevant issue in the last few years, especially in 2020. Baba Vanga has predicted an apocalypse style scene in India where she believes swarms of locusts will be next year. Like I mentioned before, in 2020 India was dealing with the worst swarms of locusts that were seen in decades, so it's entirely possible that 2022 might be an absolute nightmare for them as well. There are plenty of reasons why this poses a major problem, but one of the main ones is that those bugs can absolutely devour food and they reproduce fast. Lots of quick, hungry bugs is a really huge dilemma for farmers everywhere, and a couple of years ago this issue was really impacting crops. Hopefully next year won't see these same issues come back. Like I've said before, people have dealt with enough in the last few years. In our number 3 spot today we have catastrophes. This one kind of goes hand in hand with number 10 on this list that we started off with, climate change, but this one is just getting a little more specific and is actually about natural disasters, more specifically earthquakes and tsunamis. Another Baba Vanga prediction, she was able to predict the 2004 tsunami, so this 2022 prediction is made all the more eerie. She claims that in 2022 we will see an increase in multiple different kinds of catastrophes, but especially earthquakes and tsunamis. She then went on to explain more about who she believes will be hit the hardest and which places will be impacted the most by the severe weather. She said that several Asian countries as well as Australia will be seeing intense bouts of flooding. Nostradamus also had a prediction for 2022 regarding this, except for his, he predicts that Japan is going to be seeing an earthquake that is going to appear in the middle of the day. Part of this is a good thing because the timing of it will potentially minimize the human loss, but he does make it clear that he believes the material loss will be great. These sorts of things are very scary to think about because there isn't really a way to predict them for certain, and there is really nothing we can do about Mother Nature. In our number 2 spot today we have Paris. For one last Nostradamus prediction for this list today, we have this super worrisome one. He apparently wrote, quote, "All around the great city will be soldiers lodged by fields and cities." This is said to mean that for 2022 he is predicting that Paris will be under siege. For what reasons? Well, that remains unclear. There are other ways to interpret this prediction, like perhaps it's more so stating that the city will just be kind of closed off for a while, but truly, who knows? I wish the people who made these predictions were a little more direct with them, but hey, who am I to critique Nostradamus? At the end of the day, the good news is that this is just a prediction, and Nostradamus has been wrong before. It just puts people on edge to hear these scary thoughts, which totally makes sense. I wonder if Nostradamus predicted that a random Canadian would be here talking about his poems into a camera to upload to the internet for thousands of strangers. In our number 1 spot today we have a water crisis. Water is obviously something that is necessary to sustain life here on Earth, and although it may not seem like it, there is a limited amount of it. This prediction has to do with water, or more so, the lack of it. It is predicted that in 2022, because of a multitude of reasons that includes increases in population as well as river pollution, that we will soon be seeing a lack of drinking water. It is unclear exactly who they think this will affect the most, but it's a really scary thought regardless. It has long been predicted that we will one day be fighting each other for the little drinkable water we have left, and the closer we get to that being a reality is pretty terrifying. I think it's pretty safe to say that we can all likely agree that this would be a very bad scenario for people to be in, but I also think it's important that we acknowledge how many people there are who currently don't have any access to clean or running water. This isn't a new problem, unfortunately, and I really wish we could be predicting the opposite of this one.
Kicking off the list at number 10. VR. The Simpsons didn't predict VR at all. That was a concept that's been around for a long time. It's just now getting good. I mean, recently I got an Oculus, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I felt sick when I tried to use it. I almost threw up. You have to throw items at bad guys. I actually get anxious. My heart races. Olivia straight up cried when she tried it. It's a whole process. This is pretty powerful technology, like this is Black Mirror stuff. The Simpsons predicted that VR could possibly go wrong back in 2016. The episode titled Friends and Family has the town excited over this new tech that's finally arrived, and they're so into it that eventually people are walking in the streets wearing these goggles. They're getting hit by cars, they're losing touch with reality. We see disconnection from reality all the time. We saw it in WALL-E. With Facebook going the virtual route recently with the introduction of the metaverse, I believe that The Simpsons undermined the dangers for this one. You thought pop-ups and sketchy links were bad for children on Facebook? Well, soon we're gonna be walking into this actual virtual website. $3 billion worth of VR was sold during the pandemic. Connection during times like these, I mean, that's great and all, but how far can we really go? Number 9, Mars life. Let me ask you lovely people a question, truly. If you could go to Mars right now with like 3 of your friends, would you actually go? Keep in mind, it's really boring obviously, and unless you're an astronaut, botanist like Matt Damon, odds are you'd probably have a rough go once you did arrive. But in the future, sure, maybe it'll be a round trip, easy. Going to Mars might be as simple as going to the mall. The Simpsons showed a family visit to the big red planet come 2051, but honestly, I think we'll get there a lot sooner. SpaceX is already planning to send people out there. It's crazy, it's happening so fast. It's just a quick 9-month trip there, so make sure your phone's charged. And also you gotta watch out for the galactic cosmic rays. It's actually more beneficial for the team to travel during the peak times around 2030 and 2050 because trips to the planet will be shorter, for one, which is great, and they'll also coincide with periods of solar maximum. So while this one may not come true in 2022, let me tell you, it's definitely around the corner. Number 8, robots. We're at a point now where robots can straight up do parkour. Boston Dynamics is trending every other week. Half the time I can't even tell if their videos are real or if they're CGI. The robots are too impressive. Also, the fact that I'm saying the robots, like where are we right now? What's going on? The Simpsons have touched on robots taking over. That was an idea that's been done a few times. In 2012, they predicted that a great amount of jobs would be lost to the robots. But back in 1994, the Simpsons episode titled Itchy and Scratchy Land showed a theme park full of robots that go crazy and attack civilians. Also, we have Sophia the robot now. She's actually been on talk shows. It's like a real person. She has a citizenship. She's the first robot to receive citizenship from a country. Saudi Arabian citizen. She's a robot. This is real life. She was also on the CNBC saying that she wanted to destroy humans at one point. So that's neat. This could slowly be underway. I mean, I hope not. iRobot is literally one of my biggest fears. The movie predicted self-driving cars. That's all I'm saying.
How can I be of service, Detective Spooner?
Number 7, Dome Sweet Dome. For this one, we're looking at the Simpsons movie, which definitely still holds up. If you haven't seen it, check it out after this video. That's a fun time. But with the pandemic seeming to never end, could we possibly see our own towns domed up? This idea came long before the Simpsons movie. Back in the 70s, there were talks about putting a dome over Manhattan, this 3-kilometer dome over Midtown that regulates weather and pollution. It sounds fun, but imagine if that actually had been built. Imagine what we have been doing with it now during the initial COVID outbreak. Would have been madness. People would have been storming it like a castle. And then in 2010, there was a city planned that was supposed to be built in 2020. It was called Eco City. It was supposed to be built in the Mir mine in Siberia. It was announced in 2014 officially. This climate-controlled dome city, 4.5 square kilometers, but since 2016, the project lost the dome. What do you guys think? Should we use domes over cities, lose the umbrella, and just live in a big glass ball forever? Honestly, I would do it. I'm tired of walking in puddles. Number 6, the World Cup. An episode from 1997 called The Cartridge Family shows Mexico and Portugal going head-to-head in football. Like soccer football, not like football, like a football thing. You got it. Springfield residents are told to go see this match to determine which nation is the greatest on earth, Mexico or Portugal. So in 2018, when the World Cup rolled around, pun intended, fans were excited that this was actually coming true. But at the same time, they had to laugh, determining that Ronaldo must have missed that penalty intentionally so that the prediction would come true. Although I think that was just a mistake. But recently, it's been announced that Qatar will host the tournament in November, December 2022, rather than the usual June, July dates. Another World Cup, another chance for the Simpsons to add another prediction to their impressive list. Number 5, flying cars. We've been talking about flying cars for so long, I wouldn't even call this a Simpsons prediction anymore, but they've nailed it before, so who knows. 2022 could be the year we say goodbye to tires forever. In 2005, Professor Fink created this machine to let Bart and Lisa see the future. The future at that point was 2013, which is long since passed, but Marge had left Homer because he spent all their savings on an underwater house. But also in this episode, we see hover cars. Come 2017, the concept of a futuristic hover car was revealed. It's called Float, the Renault car of the future. So come 2022, we might not see these exactly, but we might get an even cooler version. We might get this 6-person hover car. That's like something that Fantastic Four rolls around with. Are you kidding me? It's called the Cyclocar. I'm absolutely going to get my license just for this. Number 4, music control. You ever listen to an album and it's so good that it moves you? Sometimes it'll literally move you, right? You have to go and bop around in the kitchen for a bit, get all those beats out. But what if music moved you in like a Pied Piper kind of way? What if next time you heard the cha-cha slide at a wedding, you had to do the cha-cha slide? In 2001, an episode called New Kids on the Bleak showed Bart in a band that was secretly a mind control device for the Navy. Subliminal messaging through music. Love it. One of their most popular tracks was called Drop Da Bomb, so obviously it was a bit more obvious where they're going. But this isn't a new idea either. Many people have thought that hip-hop brainwashes people. Even The Game, like the artist The Game, believes that the internet is brainwashing people into enjoying whack music, as he says. That's a quote. It's a real-life quote from a real artist. What do we think? Are we slowly being brainwashed through music? I mean, every time I open TikTok, I end up hating another classic that I loved once, so maybe it's just we're seeing it too much? Also, I love how hip-hop is like the center of attention for brainwashing the youth. No, it's literally like, yeah, I got 4 jobs, I make bank, I don't sleep, I work my ass off. Meanwhile, other genres are like, I think he's cheating on me, you should go through his phone. Number 3, VR food. The Simpsons had their 600th episode centered around VR. As I mentioned earlier, it's a pretty big deal. It's a technology that's changing lives, really. And those midnight snacks might get a whole lot better in the future, apparently. I swear to God, one time when I was dozing off watching TV, I tried to eat food that wasn't there. I tried to half asleep and eat food. It was the dumbest thing I've ever done, but could you imagine if a pizza pocket just magically appeared in your hand in the middle of the night? Well, the Simpsons predict that this virtual reality food might just be a thing. Scientists at Cornell University found out that cheese tastes better when you eat it in a certain pleasant VR setting. So if you see me eating shredded cheese at 2 a.m. naked with goggles on in my room, Leave me alone, okay? Don't judge me. I'm in Paris. I'm dining out. I'm having a culinary experience. Shut the door on your way out of Paris. Get out of my room. Number 2, digital Big Ben. You ever look at a clock with like, hands and all that jazz, and it takes you a while to actually read it? You're like doing addition. You're like, hey, is that a 2 or a 3? Where's that hand? Why is there 4 hands? Some timepieces need to be digital, right? Middle of the night, you can't see time. You're looking over to see how long you've been asleep for. You can't look at hands and all that jazz. Also, when you go to a wedding, you're not wearing a digital wristwatch, right? You know what I mean? You're not a spy kid. You're not gonna be timing people doing laps. You're trying to look good. You're trying to keep it classy. The Big Ben, I hope, never goes digital, but never say never. In an episode from 1995, the future shows Lisa traveling to England to meet her future husband's parents, and the Big Ben is digital at this point. Now, today, construction is still being done on the Big Ben, and we won't hear its chimes until next summer, but can you imagine when they finally reveal it, instead of a chime, you hear a beep? Imagine every hour you get a notification instead of hearing those lovely bells. I'd lose my mind. And finally, number 1, hologram mail. Coming from season 11, episode 17, Bart to the Future, we get another tease at some future tech. A mailman gives Bart a letter, but it packs quite the punch. Bart opens it up and the letter is, well, it's 4D. It's like a hologram person. It's almost like Star Wars. Honestly, since I saw Star Wars when I was a little tot, I always wanted that technology in my life. That would be amazing. VR food sounds delicious, but hologram mail, that would save lives. I would send so many letters to my friends and family. I'd wear a cloak in all of them too, and I'd be so ominous. And I would never click stop. I would just stand there and walk out of frame. You know what I mean? That's how all the villains do it. If we get virtual mail, that would lead us to virtual packages. No more shipping fees? Oh, can you imagine? But also, no more eagerly awaiting your package that's been delayed for 2 weeks. We can actually use this. This is great. This is the future we've been waiting for.